Hello, everyone. Happy March 1st. Here we are together again. It is the first of the month. It is a new month to reinvent yourself and to try new things. Maybe you're going to finally start that project you've been putting off, or maybe you're going to finally take that risk on something that you have been avoiding. Whatever it is that you do this month, let's make sure that it counts, because this is a new opportunity, it's a new day, and it could potentially be a new you. Or on the flip side of that, it could be the same old you, continuing to stagnate in that job, continuing to not pursue the things that you're passionate about, and continuing to be unfulfilled or unhappy in whatever role you're fulfilling in your life. So with that out of the way, what I want to talk about today is, and spoiler alert, it's AI, right? Yeah, I know there's a million different videos out there, people talking about AI and their predictions and where they think AI is going, yada, yada, yada. We've probably all heard it, we've all seen it, but, I'm going to give my 2 cents on it. And just a little bit of background about me. I might be in a bit more of a position to have a slightly less worthless opinion than somebody else just because of my background. I've been working in the tech industry for, a few years shy of a decade now. So, while I would not say that I am an expert on this subject, I've kind of seen behind the curtain a little bit, and I've at least seen from the beginning kind of how this has been implemented in large companies and other environments where this kind of stuff is becoming more and more prevalent. So with that out of the way, AI, right? AI in 2026, moving forward, where are we now, and where do I think this is going? All right. So the reality is this, right? Is AI overhyped? Maybe. In my personal opinion, yeah, it is. But at the same time, it is a new technology that's not going away, right? That genie's out of the bottle now. So here it is. It's here to stay. In what capacity is it going to disrupt things? That's debatable, and that's what we're here to talk about today, right? So artificial intelligence, right? In 2026, it's no longer a concept. It's not simply just hype. It is infrastructure at the end of the day, right? Just a few years ago, many people were experimenting with tools like ChatGPT, Midjourney, GitHub, Copilot, etc. Even DeepSeek, which if you've used that, that's a pretty good one. Just out of curiosity and experimentation. But today, anybody that's worked in any kind of corporate environment, or even some small to medium-sized businesses, or even just on your personal cell phone, right? AI systems are embedded into all the flagship products now. It's all in Microsoft products. It's all in the 365 products. It's on your phone. It's on all the Apple products. It's in schools, workplaces, hospitals, governments, even creative industries, right? Digital design. It's there. It is embedded into everything, and that is that's not happenstance. That is by design, right? That is to make it seem like it's not just a bunch of hype and like it's going to be the future, right? And whether it is or not, again, that's debatable, and that's what we're here to talk about. But there certainly is a push by all the companies that are heavily invested in this technology to make it feel like it's this hyper prevalent thing that is going to be the future, right? And that's by design. So understand that even if this is just being overhyped, which in my personal opinion I think it is, but there is certainly a concerted effort on the end of these organizations that have invested billions of dollars into this AI technology and infrastructure to make it feel omnipresent, to make it feel like it's the future, right? And that's a phase of this. So, roughly in the current year, AI is at least being poised to look like less of a tool and more like a true collaborator in the workplace now, right? So AI at work, right? So across industries, AI is handling things like repetitive tasks. It's good at analyzing massive data sets in seconds. It's helping professionals make better decisions, right? That's what we're being told. We're being told that doctors use AI to assist in diagnosing diseases earlier. Engineers are using it to design products faster. Marketers are using it to generate campaigns in, vastly quicker amounts of time than it used to take because of boilerplate code and boilerplate templates. Developers are using it to, basically design software with AI co-pilots reviewing and writing the code for them. So that's what the hype is telling us. Is all these wonderful things are happening. AI is just this productivity enhancer, and it's just making things, just faster, and it's replacing entry level tasks. Here's the thing. While that is true to an extent, I mean there certainly is a element of truth to all of those things. Ultimately, what AI is really doing, it is getting rid of the most basic, you know, simple things in all of these things we mentioned, right? Can AI write boilerplate code that an entry level developer used to write? Well, sure, it can, but is it good? Right? That's the question. Is it good? Is it at a point today, or is it going to be at a point in, say, the next 5 years, where it's going to be totally able to replace an entry level developer? My guess is no, right? I mean, if you've done anything with AI, take your pick, right? Let's say ChatGPT. Everybody knows that one. That's a popular one. If you're using ChatGPT to write boilerplate code for, say a website, right? It can do that. But is it going to be able to make it to where, you no longer need an entry level web developer? Probably not. Um, and to be fair, web development might not be the best example of that, just because web development is something that long before AI was out in the to the extent that it's out now. You already had all these codeless platforms and all of these things that basically made it to where you could, just click and drag to create a website, or you could just, website development's become a lot more simple. You don't have to necessarily be an HTML, JavaScript, developer to do these things anymore. But basically what AI is doing is it's not going to replace expertise. It's going to amplify it, right? It's going to take people that were already productive, people that were already experts in a field, and it's going to make them a bit more productive, right? But what I don't think AI is going to do is it's not going to do away with entry level jobs. My opinion on the trends that I've seen just in the industries from my own experience is what's happening, right? Is I think a lot of these companies have overinvested in this technology, and they know, or they're at least beginning to realize, that the promises that they've made to their investors, that they were going to be able to automate, so many jobs and get rid of all these employees in the workforce and just increase capital hand over fist for these shareholders, I don't think they're going to be able to deliver on that. I just don't. I think we're already seeing the limitations of some of this technology, and no matter how much money you choose to pump into it, it's vastly more expensive to operate this stuff than they originally thought it was going to be, for one. And there's a lot of legal hurdles that are preventing them from doing the scummy thing, which is trying to pass the cost on to us, the consumers, through all the cost of the power bills. Basically, people are seeing increases in by all these data centers. But also that they're not going to be able to replace human reasoning and rationality with AI, right? What AI really is at the end of the day is it's just an improvement on the search engine. I mean, you could say that it's a bit more than that, but in my opinion, that's really what it is, right? It's a vastly more expensive, faster search engine that, I don't want to use the word intelligently, but can efficiently web scrape, a lot of different things simultaneously, whereas a search engine really can't do that as well, right? Even though a search engine is vastly, vastly cheaper to operate. But yeah, so I personally don't think they're going to be able to deliver on this hype. They're going to have to basically realize at some point that this technology has its limits. And what I think the real push behind this is we're going to see over the next, say, 5 years, right? Especially in the tech industry, you're going to see a lot of entry-level jobs opening up. And the requirements for these entry-level jobs are going to be increased, right? They're going to lower wages and increase expectation. That's what I see, is that whereas it used to be, let's say you're like a help desk technician, tier 1, tier 2 help desk tech, right? they're going to have the same requirements for you within 5 years for those roles that they used to have for senior techs or even entry-level system administrators, right? You're going to have to be an entry-level system administrator level of competency and skill to be a tier 1 help desk technician within 5 years. That's my prediction. And the reason for that is because that's essentially them extracting more value out of you using AI, right? Because they're going to use AI to basically compensate for what used to be expertise, right? They're going to use AI to say, now that you have this tool, right, now we can expect more of you and pay you less, right? So it's going to be, what AI, in my opinion, is a push to lower wages and increase expectations on the end of entry-level roles. Mark my words, within 5 years, you're going to see a whole lot of roles open up, particularly in tech industry, but probably across most industries, and they're going to be entry-level roles. There's going to be a ton of entry-level hiring within 5 years. And when those jobs come up, they're going to have very high expectations of these people, right? What today or even 5-10 years ago was a senior tech or a system administrator responsibility is going to become a tier 1 help desk responsibility. And you're going to see that across a lot of industries where the expectations of entry-level employees is going to increase substantially because of AI, while the compensation for those roles is going to go down, right? That's what they want, essentially, is they want to lower wages while increasing expectation so they can extract more value out of you. That's the thing, is they want to lower wages across the board while increasing expectation and increasing competition for those entry-level roles, right? Because that's how they win, and that's what they want. And so let's talk about creativity with AI, right? A lot of creative jobs are being so-called supposedly threatened by this because AI can do things like create music, art, film scripts, voice generation. Essentially, AI now participates in the creative process, right? But here's the thing. AI does not replace human creativity. It expands the creative starting point, yes. It helps overcome blank page paralysis. It gives creators a draft to improve upon, to remix or refine, but it does not replace true human creativity, okay? AI is limited in the sense that AI cannot come up with a novel idea, right? Because AI's so-called creativity is limited on this data sets that it was trained on, okay? So in that sense, AI can only really regurgitate ideas, okay? And it can only draw upon the ideas that it's already been fed, which is going to be limited, by the very nature of it, because although these data sets might be massive, right, they still are finite. They're not infinite, as is human creativity. The potential for human creativity from an actual person is limitless, okay? The potential for AI to create something is restricted to the amount of data that was fed into it. So human creativity is not going to be surpassed by AI. It can be supplemented by it, it can be enhanced by it, but it will not be replaced. So, and if you've heard a lot of these AI, music and seen a lot of the AI art and stuff, now I'm not saying some of it isn't impressive. Like, I've played around with generative AI. I've seen, particularly like the image generation. Yeah, it is impressive. I mean, I'm not going to deny that there's some value there, but is it going to replace true creativity from top tier artists and producers and people that are at the top of their field? No, I don't think it is. Not anytime soon. And again, that just comes down to the potential for human creativity is limitless, while the potential for AI's creativity is restricted. Okay, it is restricted to what you can feed it. So it is dependent on people to be creative, to enhance its own creativity. So it will always be behind in that regard. Okay, and have you heard AI music? Okay, like, yeah, okay, you can get AI to create you like an instrumental lo-fi playlist or something, and it can hold up. But true AI and true creativity in music, I haven't seen it yet. Maybe one day, but right now my answer is no. It's not going to be able to replace true creativity in the arts. And if you've looked at some of the scripts that it's written, like if you ever had AI, go next time you're on ChatGPT or DeepSeek or any of these AI platforms, ask it to write you a 10-minute script. And if you actually read through that, you're going to see just how awful some of these scripts really are. I mean, they can hand you out a good idea that you as a person who with an original thought can expand upon. But if you actually think that this thing's going to be able to write a blockbuster film script all on its own, you go try it out for yourself, and you'll see just how nonsensical and kind of dumb some of the things that it puts out are, and you'll learn pretty quick that's not going to happen. Okay, not anytime soon. So yeah, I mean, in the sense, is AI going to enhance creativity? Sure. I mean, yeah, you may. It's going to make it to where you're no longer going to need, a full production studio and team to come up to bring your ideas to life. It is going to make people more efficient, but it's not going to automate creativity. That's not happening. Okay. So let's talk about AI in education, right? So that is one area where I do think that AI is going to be pretty transformative, right? Because as anybody who's been in the public school system for the past like 20, 30 years, really, you've probably been a product of that. Same way I was. I went through the public school systems, and let's be real here. I mean, public school is a babysitting service. It hasn't really served anybody in decades. There haven't been a generation of people that truly benefited from the education they got in a public schooling system in a long time. Okay, public school is a social service. It is a babysitting service. It is completely, beholden to bureaucracy and policies that strip it of teachers of any effectiveness. And it's just, there's so many problems with public education. We can go on and on about that. But how is AI going to fix that, right? So students now have personalized AI tutors, right, that adapt to their pace, that adapts to the learning style. Instead of having this one-size-fits-all lecture model that we've had for decades, learning is becoming increasingly customized. So that there is some potential for good there, right? Now, I will say that I do think that screen time, especially for young children, is detrimental. I think kids need to be interacting with the real world, and I think the very idea of things like standardized testing and all of these other things is counterproductive and truly takes away from the actual learning, right? Because a lot of people, they talk about standardized test, and it's like, well, how do you, what tool otherwise can you have to know that where students are actually learning and time is being well spent in these schools? And well, the answer is really simple there. What kind of outcomes are you getting in society? What kind of adults are being produced by the system? I mean, it's the proof is in the pudding. It should be self-evident whether or not these school systems are doing their jobs by the quality of adults that they are producing, that they are graduating, right? If you're producing people that are critical thinkers, that are equipped with the tools and knowledge they need to function in the real world, and are providing value from the education that they were given to the real world in their communities, then it's working. I mean, it within the span of a generation or two, you would see real quick if it's effective or not. And it seems like the more money we throw at it and the more testing we shove down these kids' throats, the lower the quality of the graduate becomes. I mean, literacy rates are falling, math rates are in the toilet, okay? And that's despite education being probably more expensive and more regulated than it has ever been at any point in the past. And yet we're producing the lowest quality of graduates basically of all time, okay? So that is one area where I think AI could potentially help, is that it can put students on a personalized path to where you don't have to cater to the lowest common denominator anymore, right? Because for whatever reason, our society has this obsession with not leaving anybody behind, not hurting anybody's feelings, and that is a really dumb way to be. And the countries that don't follow that model, such as China, are producing better quality of students because they openly admit that yes, education is a competition. If you're not the brightest and best, then they're not going to slow their pace to avoid hurting your feelings. You're just going to be rotated into some position where you're still a benefit to society and yourself, which is how it needs to be, right? You don't need a system that says, oh, little Johnny here has an IQ of 95, and we need to hold back the other kids with an IQ of 120 to spare Johnny's feelings, right? Because then society suffers, right? You don't need to have a system like that. You need to have a system to where people are measured based on their actual abilities, and then they're rotated into areas to where they themselves will find success. Because by the individual finding success, society will benefit from that. What society doesn't benefit from is is holding back exceptional individuals to cater to the lowest common denominator, because then their potential isn't realized. And then instead of somebody achieving greatness, they at best achieve mediocrity, or at worst they become a failure and a burden to the system, right? Because you didn't place them on the right path to success. So I do think that in that way, that AI will help education if applied in the right manner. Now, whether or not it will be applied in the right manner is up for debate, because essentially you had many times throughout history where there's been a good idea or a good foundation for something to do a lot of good, and then because it ended up in the hands of the wrong people, which is unfortunately so often things like these do, it became more of a profit-centric model that wasn't about, you know, elevating society. It was about elevating special interest. But I do think that AI, at least in that capacity, has a lot of potential to put people in schools that are truly exceptional on an accelerated learning path, to where it's personalized, so they're not going to be held back by the people that are beneath them from an intellectual standpoint, right? And the people that are of lower IQ or of lower potential, they're going to be able to go at a pace to where they're able to find success as well, right? And they're going to be able to have their learning style catered in a direction and a method that will benefit them and won't overwhelm them, and will allow them to internalize ideas at their own pace and find success, which is a good thing for everyone. So in that regard, yes, I do think AI is going to be, or at least has the potential to be, a very good thing in education. That may be one of the certainly exceptions here to where AI really could do some good in education. It also can do a lot of good in the medical field, because, as we mentioned earlier, that AI has the ability, one thing AI really is quite good at is analyzing large data sets quickly, okay? AI really can do that better than a person, just because the speed at which AI can see patterns and analyze data is just faster than a person could really ever do, and it can hold more information in its mind at one time than a person can in the short term. So the ability to see patterns that people might miss in large data sets due to just fatigue from looking at all of this boring data, AI has a lot of potential there to connect the dots in ways that people just can't, or at least not as quickly. So I do think there's also a lot of benefit there in the medical field. So yeah, I mean, a lot of things will change with AI, but I don't think it's going to change as much as people think. At the end of the day, AI is not going to be able to replace judgment. It's not going to be able to replace empathy. It's not going to be able to replace creativity and lived experiences and leadership. Okay, those are uniquely human traits that AI is not going to be able to emulate. Okay, AI can generate things, it can predict things, it can recognize patterns, it can optimize existing workflows, but AI can't replace quality leadership. It can't stimulate or emulate true creativity. Okay, it just can't. That remains a uniquely human ability. So, kind of in closing here, when we talk about AI in 2026 and moving forward, we're not talking about machines taking over the world, okay? We're a long way from that, if ever. What we are talking about is augmentation. We are talking about acceleration, amplification of current abilities. It's going to take people that are already good at something and make them more efficient. And it's going to only really truly get rid of the most mundane entry-level task that were already probably on the way out anyways. AI is definitely a powerful tool, and it definitely has the ability to enhance, existing capacities, but it's not going to be the massive job killer I think people think it is. In the short term, it is going to get rid of some jobs, as companies are intentionally getting rid of these jobs, because I'm telling you, what they want to do is they're going to bring these same jobs back, but in entry-level roles with the same responsibilities that only 5 years prior were for senior or administrative level personnel, and it's going to outsource those responsibilities to entry-level people using AI to accomplish the same task at a fraction of the wages. What AI is truly about, in my mind, is lowering wages while increasing expectation to further extract value out of the workforce. Okay? It's about value extraction. So that's my rant. I'll see you next time.
Lose it, loser.